Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So today we are taking a look at the tier 5 Roman, the Velites I think, and we are looking at basically countering elephants with them. Now I know elephant sort of statistics are changing slightly in the upcoming 3.1 patch, but they are still going to be really tough tanker units, and javelins are still going to be in a really effective counter against them. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to just have a look at this replay I had the other day, looking at sort of how we got on countering elephants, and then just sort of a bit of a gameplay with the tier 5 javelins. So, as you may notice from some of my earlier javelin videos, I have switched to Sulla as my javelin commander. Pretty much the only reason to do this is for the mobility, for the one ability, and it's whip. So whip basically gives you a plus 16% movement speed, or that's at the stage I'm at now. Once you get to a higher tier, that actually gets higher. And you can activate it every 8 seconds with a 16-second cooldown. So that means 50% of the time you can get a plus 16% movement speed. Plus, not to mention, you've already got dash on these units as well. So you can basically almost all the time be having a movement speed bonus. And that is really effective on a unit that, you know, relies on mobility to get itself out of trouble. So yeah, big fan overall. And I think that's kind of it works better than C's, whose abilities don't really seem to add anything to the javelins. Particularly at the lower tiers. But anyway, I started over this side of the map. I went up to the observation point just to see if there's anything I could see at the start, although these points don't really show you a lot. And then I noticed that the enemy had some elephants down here, some of these premium tier 5 Sulla war elephants. Really effective, very devastating unit, particularly at tier 5 when there's not necessarily a lot that can counter it, and they're getting stuck into some friendly companion cavalry, some tier 5 Greeks. So I see this, so I'm basically using my dash and whip to get myself quickly across the map to go and move in on these elephants. Thankfully at the same time I get a bit of support from some of my teammates, and it's the same in chat as well, saying protect the javelins, which is obviously both good for me and for the team, because I'm the main thing on our team currently that can kill these guys. We do have some light artillery that can do some damage, and we've got a bit of friendly artillery throwing some shots in, but I want to come in and try and get support. Worryingly, there's some enemy tier 4 auxiliary cavalry there, which we just get a quick volley off into, I think. I just thought I was a bit worried about that, but my main focus is these elephants. So let's slow things down a little bit, because it's going to get pretty chaotic pretty quickly. So first things first, I start getting hit by enemy artillery. Not exactly what I wanted at this moment in time, but that's fine, because the elephants sort of seem to hesitate a little bit, lag around, etc. And so I get a few volleys off, and you can see I'm doing around about 4,000 to 5,000 for a volley from my 3 lots of javelins. So seeing these elephants are charging from my central unit, I decide the best thing I can do is split them. So I push one unit either side. Unfortunately, these auxiliary cavalry start to push into me, so this unit has to go off on a sort of a full route off to the side. But this unit pulls to the sides and starts focusing on the javelins, trying to get some range, and the same with this unit here. So I'm starting to get some shots in with this unit. Thankfully, the elephants don't work very well in forests, because they get caught on all the trees, as you can see. You know, he keeps hitting the trees, and that slows him down. And he's sort of caught between which of my 2 units he wishes to engage. We've also got some friendly hoplites coming in. And I got a little bit caught up in here, and I was a bit slow in recognising that this unit had been free from the horses and was in danger. So I managed to quickly get them back and back moving. But you can see we're starting to build up quite a lot of damage against these elephants already. You know, this one's down to half health. And considering these are the absolute beasts of the game, then I think that's kind of a good thing that the javelins are able to do so much damage against them. It's a bit of an error really splitting my focus. I would have been better keeping this unit focused on this one down here to try and just kill one off as quickly as possible. But the threat of the sort of the hoplites coming down here and my allies, I sort of tried to balance the two a little bit, but I should have just focused on one. But these guys are happily cutting these down, and while we're causing a small amount of friendly fire, it's well worth the extra damage, and there we go. First elephant dead. It's exactly what we want. So I'm pulling back behind our friendly troops, who are doing an excellent job of protecting me, keeping all the enemy at bay, and we start to slam some of these javelins in. We get a bit of friendly artillery fire, which is obviously good, and we just keep racking up damage against these guys. I've got this unit on the side who's throwing a few javelins at these hoplites, which probably isn't necessary, but the elephant has just got a tiny last one, got a tiny little bit left, and boom, there we go. There goes the final elephant. So then it's just a case of trying to get a bit of distance from these hoplites who are right upon me. But we've still got quite a few units left alive, so our volleys are still quite high, and he turns his back to me, and, well, wait for it. You know, 3,500 damage. He gets cut down pretty quickly. I was a little bit worried then I would probably cause more friendly fire than I would do good. And this is where things, having a brilliant start to the game, suddenly goes a little bit worse. I start taking a lot of damage from slingers. Well, I think these are slingers anyway, you can't actually see them, but the low arc suggests to me that they are. So I decide, I was trying to get out of there, trying to drop visibility from those slingers, which I think we did at this point. Yeah, there they are, look, the slingers, along with the enemy light artillery. And we start to get a few volleys in against these hoplites. I'm causing some friendly fire damage, but considering this fight was so close, I thought I was doing more good than harm. Particularly as my poor ally was taking volley fire from the enemy slingers as well. But then the slingers begin to target me, and I've got nowhere really to go. I've got no safety. So I'm just trying to pull range on them, really, which is obviously hard on a unit which has such monumental range. So I sort of think, oh, my allies over here are pretty dead now. We've done well. I've killed my main enemy this game, which was those elephants. We didn't have a lot else on the team that can counter them, so I really felt it was kind of my job to deal with them, which I think we did effectively, and it netted me sort of around 1,000 aggression points, so not even that much for the amount of damage we have done. Elephants aren't very rewarding in terms of points, but yes, I thought that was a good start to the game. So then I was pulling over here, sort of looking at what I wanted to do. I really wanted to go back, help poor ally, then the rest of the infantry turned up, and I know those slingers are still over there. Artillery is throwing in just some bombarding fire into the last known position. I decide, well, I think it's time we pull back, maybe see if we can get to a different area of the map to get to safety. I do notice that some of the more the slinger fires coming out, and it's pretty near the edge of the forest, so I'm well in the danger zone here. Yes, and there it is, and there's the volleys that start to get into me. I could be trying to do a bit more sort of evasion here, would probably be better, particularly as they're sort of shooting my main unit and one unit routes, which is unfortunate. Obviously they're pretty direct fire slingers, which makes them a bit harder to avoid than archers, which is their sort of arcing fire. But yes, we finally managed to get out of range of them, although we have taken quite a few losses. But we've still got enough people left to do a decent amount of damage with this lot, so we're not out of the game quite yet. And having killed these elephants, the battle is in our favour at the moment, which is another good thing. Having a look elsewhere, looks like our cavalry is slightly in amongst the enemy artillery, which is nice. Although some Punic mercenaries have turned up to their aid to lend a bit of assistance. Surprised if those Punic mercenaries can kill anything. Really useless infantry there. Anyway, in the meantime, I saw these slingers come out the forest, and our artillery is kind of a bit in a position here. Although it's still getting shots off, and our war dogs come unleashed, which is a really good move by them. Unfortunately, the slingers do exactly the right thing. Obviously, a good player here. Split their units so that they can continue to fire on these war dogs. I get a few shots off, and then I thought, if I step out here, I'm just going to be absolutely slaughtered. I actually catch myself on my allies' stakes slightly, which was my own fault. So I retreat back to the safety of this long grass because I can't be seen when I'm in here, and decide, well, let's just have a look around. I noticed we're being slightly captured, very slowly, so I didn't think it was going to be anything too dangerous, so I thought, alright, well, let's just see what happens, and I'll go and have a look at base. Because if I try and cross this ground, these guys, given they've got sort of 2 or 3 almost full-strength units, are just going to brutally cut me down. So, we come over here, I see there's some stakes across the front, and some principes, and as well as a few javelins. So, I should probably have just pushed up to here and started volleying. Instead, I start volleying the actually enemy stakes, because you can destroy them with ranged weapons. If you didn't know, you don't have to engage them in melee combat. So I just finished those off. Takes a little bit of time. There we go. That's few. There we go. So I advance up first to take off obviously the enemy javelins. I slightly outranged them actually, because I've got the light Augustan javelins, one of the upgrades, which gives me a slight increase to range over them. So I'm just able to kill them. They, for whatever reason, aren't paying attention, don't really care. Have given up and don't come forwards to engage me, which they should have done. And at the same time, we've been killing off the Principes. They've got the backs to me. I mean, it's not going to go very well against javelins. And, oh, there we go. The player's disconnected. So he's either sort of rage quit the battle or has had a bit of an internet problem there. But anyway, the enemies in our base are gone. It's getting me a few extra points. And now, sort of the problem turns back to the slingers. So I see our dogs charge into the forest from where there's a rather large volley coming, which suggests the dogs have engaged one of the larger units of enemy slingers to me. So I think, right, well, let's just go for it. So I clear around the back of this boat, and then I activate my whip and dash. Quick note, if you're using Sulla, you've got to activate them in the correct order. Dash silences you, so you must activate whip first, then dash second. I see these units here, but I don't want to throw javelins at my own dogs, and I enter the forest to get visibility, and there we go. satisfactory revenge is very nice, and we start to get some lovely volleys into those enemy slingers who obviously don't stand a chance at close range against the javelins. I stopped there just to not kill those last couple of dogs. It's all the poor handlers got left, I think. I think the artillery could give the game up there, and I think they actually called me quite a bit of friendly fire in a minute. I perhaps shouldn't have run across this, but I mean, they really didn't need to continue firing at this point. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the point of that was, but anyway. So then I see we've got these Libyan hoplites at tier 5. These are the Carthaginians, I believe. Yes, they are. So we get a few shots in. I'm trying to be conscious of trying to avoid friendly fire. They pulled back sufficiently for me to get a few in at the edge, which I did. 2,500 damage. Not a lot, but you know, every little helps. I come around, I think I might have gone for one or two more volleys, which we do. A little friendly fire, but not a lot. And then I think, well, there's too many friendly infantry in the way now. I'm just going to be killing my own guys if I do that, so give that one up. There's no point continuing that engagement. It's not beneficial to me or the team. So I leave them. I think I decide that fight's won, which I didn't check, but I assume it actually is. I think these guys are going to be routing very shortly, down to 1 morale. And in the meantime, there they go, they're routed now. In the meantime, I move up and begin to push on the remains of the enemy artillery. These are the guys I think who were engaged over here earlier on, pushed up, but they've got quite a bit of Punic mercenaries who've got quite a lot of health still up in support. So I think, well, we could probably give these guys a run for money. I should be faster than them. Between whip and dash, I should be able to run them even with their forced march. So we get close and we start throwing some javelins. I'm a little bit worried about this artillery, but I'm not really in a position to push up close enough to it while all these enemy infantry are here. So starts basically a very long run around. So I start running away from these guys. We've got some friendly Principes coming up in support, which I noticed, which is good. I get a few volleys off. I'm pretty sure I deploy some caltraps momentarily, but the units are kind of too far apart for me to be able to use them effectively. So we get some caltraps deployed against these guys, which slows them down slightly, but because I want them to bunch up so then I can use one caltraps on both of them. Trying to sort of pull back a little bit behind our friendly infantry for support, but these guys are just really focused on me come hell or high water. They even rout. Right here we get a bit of a volley in. I should have perhaps just engaged them, but for whatever reason I decided not to. Pull back a bit more. Obviously I'm just doing that to outrun them. I could just cycle between dash and whip, and that keeps me enough speed to keep ahead of these guys. And if things get really dodgy, I can always deploy caltraps, and that sort of keeps me safe. Obviously these guys don't have any form of charge, so long as they're not using Hasdrubal, which I have assumed they haven't. So we deploy another caltraps and get a few more volleys into them. But they just do not seem to want to turn on these Principes. But I have to say, maybe it isn't such a bad tactic, because these Principes are taking a lot of fire from the enemy artillery, because we're now well in their sort of targeting range. So I try and pull a bit of range on these Principes. I should have kited them earlier here. It took me a while to sort of realise that's what I should be doing. There we go, we get a volley. They wisely split, but I'm able to kill one, and that is enough to get them split, and I can start to focus on them with both my units. They actually very slightly catch me at the end, because I start to take artillery fire, so I try and rush things a little bit. I just try and turn on that one man, and he actually gets engaged in melee, but he gets hit by a javelin, and that's enough. So I'm then trying to pull back into this sort of cliff here, you see, to get within the minimum range of this enemy artillery. Although they are starting to take fire from our own artillery now. So these units can actually shoot these Principes, who are the last unit protecting this artillery, from beneath this ridge, which I thought was nice. Gives me a bit of cover. These guys enter like their shield screen, which gives them only plus 5 missile block chance. That's 35 missile block chance. But anyway, either way, it's not enough to actually protect them. So I try to outflank them just so I can shoot them from both sides. But they actually give pursuit and actually get quite close on my heels, so actually I'm having to focus on this unit quite a lot. So I just set this unit just attacking the enemy artillery. Seemed like a wise thing to do, get them out of the way, they're kind of a threat in the game, nice to get rid of. I deploy caltraps, get a little bit more damage on them. Obviously because we're quite down on men now, our sort of damage potential per volley is pretty low, we're only like 1,000 per volley, something like that. But I'm just able to keep ahead of them. Well, I am, up until something I didn't notice up ahead of me is this unit of light artillery here, who played this extremely well, noticed me able to quickly deploy their engines and shoot me, which of course gives me that massive slowdown penalty, causes my units to stall and lag, and they get caught up by the enemy Principes to get the rear flank and the rat on me, and that my unit destroyed. That was really kind of unfortunate. I just didn't notice this unit of light artillery down here, and they just played that very well. They played far better than me. So I had one unit left that was killing the enemy artillery, which we did. Although one of the artillery crews managed to escape, but only with like 1 or 2 people left alive. So I used this piece of lower terrain to keep me low enough to be safe from this enemy light artillery, and there's quite a lot going on down here, so I thought it seemed like a good opportunity to get stuck in. And overall I'm not too worried. We've got 30 seconds left and we are sort of well in the lead. We get a volley off on the enemy light artillery, although I don't see what damage it does. And just for the last little bit of the game, I'm just sitting at safety, just throwing some javelins at some enemy infantry. Basically, this is the same unit of Punic mercenaries that chased my other unit. For whatever reason, they decide they can't be asked to chase me, so I keep following them. They try to shield screen, but their charge missile block chance only goes to 66, which is nowhere near enough to stop javelins, so they still take quite a lot of damage per turn and are being artilleried. But it matters not, because we have got the game in the bag and secured victory on the timer. So hopefully that was sort of a slightly exciting game. It looks like it was a double Sulla top player, one as a Roman infantry commander on their team, and with me or the Javelins on our team. So hopefully that goes a little bit to show initially how effective Javelins can be against enemy elephants, which was kind of the main focus of this video initially. Because I know a lot of people have problems dealing with elephants, and I feel sort of as a Javelin player in a team, if the enemy team has elephants, sort of there should be your primary target, which is what I tried to do in this case. Because if there's nothing else that can effectively counter them, and you go and throw your life away trying to kill a few infantry or something like that, then your team is really going to struggle to kill those elephants without you. So yeah, particularly at these tiers, I think it's good to try and focus down elephants like that. And other than that, I think Javelins are a really fun class to play, and I love their damage potential, even if they are a little bit short on range sometimes. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content, and thanks guys, I shall see you all on the next video.